Welcome back. Welcome back. Good to see your all's faces. Hi.
Hi.
Yeah. So
Hi,
y'all
how are you all?
good. So right now it's good to have open mics here just while we're saying hello. In a minute, just like with all of our sessions, when we get going in the thick of things, we're going to mute them mics. We're going to make sure we keep these cameras on. Try to keep your faces positive and smiling with us here. We want to have good, positive interactions in group. I'm glad to see you all. Y'all have done so much. It's good to have you here. All right. All right. So with this session, we're going to be getting together. I know last week we went over some stages of change. Everyone's at that point where we're talking about, being done. Y'all have come so far through all your stages, through inpatient to outpatient to what we've been doing with us once a week. I want to start this group off by saying I'm very proud of every one of you all and how far you've come. So thank you. You've done great. All right. So with this session in mind, we are going to talk about emotion regulation. I do know emotions are going to be very, very high. If you're feeling really anxious or you're feeling unease or you're a little scared or you're really, really excited, however you may feel, just know that's perfectly natural. I know it's a big change, but just because we're not meeting and having sessions weekly doesn't mean you don't have that support, right? So you have plenty of that out there. So don't worry. We'll talk about a little bit of how to control it, but just know it's natural if you're feeling a little uneasy right now, okay? All right. So real quick, if y'all want to mute your mics, I'm going to play us a little intro song just to set the mood for our group here.
We can't hear it.
Can't hear it? Is it tuning it out?
It just, yeah, it doesn't do it. You can't hear it. I think it's because of the.
Oh, well, it was Bobby McFerrin, Don't Worry, Be Happy. If you know the song off your head, it's wonderful. I'm sad that it's tuning down. I'll have to work on that. Us old people have some technological difficulties every now and again. I'm sure I'll be able to find some fancy button on this to play it in the future. I guess it's one of the downsides not having a chalkboard in the classroom. It makes it a lot easier when I have that, but it is what it is. Um, so we'll go ahead and transition. I'm going to go ahead and get our check-ins like we always do in. I'm going to go around through and individually select you. For check-ins, we're going to, if you could please, say on a scale of 1 to 10 how your week's been. Since we're doing weekly check-ins, I like to hear about the entire week. If there's too much going on, it's okay if you need to shorten that down a little bit. 10 being really good, it means best day ever, right? Best week ever. 1 being you had a really bad week, some things went really sideways, and we might need to talk about something, right? And then I would like you to also tell me an emotion you're feeling today. When I say emotions, I mean things like I'm happy because, I'm sad because, I'm anxious because, I'm mad because, something of that nature, right? So I'm going to go ahead and start us off here. If Caden, if you don't mind starting us off.
Yeah, I think my week was about a 7. It wasn't a bad week. My parents, I still struggle with them because they just don't understand me at all. So we get into fights a lot and arguments, but it has been better. I have learned how to control my anger and outbursts a lot more than I used to. So those arguments don't blow up as much as they used to. But it is hard having to be someone that I'm not. And I'm feeling anxious because this group has offered me a lot of support. And now that it's ending, I'm not going to have that support anymore. So I'm worried that things are just going to go back to how they were before.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that's part of the important thing we've been making about trying to get better about letting others understand and building those social supports. I know it's difficult because we can't make your parents understand. I know you can't make them understand. You can only continue to be yourself and try to build up the strongest Caden you can be. And I know it's difficult going through that, but I'm glad you're here. I glad it wasn't all bad. A 7 out of 10 is a good week. What's something good
it
that
was
happened
a
this
good
week
week.
to get that 7 out of 10? Because I heard the bad. What were some good things that happened?
I connected with some people on Instagram who make me feel really accepted. And I'm currently homeschooled right now, but I had a couple of friends who really accepted me for who I am, and they have been reaching out a lot more and have been inviting me to hang out. So,
Okay. That sounds really fun. It's
mhm.
nice to be accepted. Instagram. Is that going to be like from school or these complete strangers?
They're strangers, influencers, as you will, who
Okay.
post a lot of things about transgender
Yeah.
acceptance and LGBTQ. So,
Cool. That can be a great source of support. Just make sure you're really safe anytime you meet a new person, especially from the internet, because you don't know if they're a real person or not. I don't say that to
right.
scare you, right?
Right.
But I do want you to be safe. I'm glad you're finding a community. You're finding a voice that's really good. I know you're really developing into that, especially as you're, going into that young adulthood. Finding those new groups gets trickier and trickier. I know everyone's using media these days. Just make sure you're safe, okay? And if you have any
Okay.
questions about safety, at the end of the session, get with me and I'll see if I can't give you a few tips, okay?
Okay, that sounds good.
Thank you so much for checking in, Kate. It's great hearing from you.
Thank you.
All right, Noah. Hi. How's your week been? Once again, just a refresher, a scale of 1 to 10 on your week and a feeling happy, sad, anxious, mad, something like that. And what's going on? Why do you feel that way?
I would say that my week has probably been about a 6, maybe the same as Caden, about a 7. Um, for similar reasons, I've had a lot of anxiety of coming to terms with the end of group, just because I've seen how far I've come, and I know that a big part of how far I've come is how I guess I thrive off of everyone else's success around me, and I don't have that outside of this group. So it worries me to think of regression.
How's the how's the anger?
It's come a long way.
Mhm.
I haven't fought with my mom or my sister all week. It's big improvements from where we started.
Yeah. All right. And any damaging anything, or you've been using the coping skills?
Been using those coping skills.
Heck yeah. That's what I'm talking about. I knew you could do it. Right? Look at that. That's improvement. It used to be like every day we were going through something, right? Once a week sessions almost didn't feel like enough. But here we are. You're at a point where you've had a full week of no aggression. You're not verbalizing any arguments or anything with others. I mean, you're doing great. Could you imagine if you went back a year from now that you'd be sitting here doing what you're doing right now?
No, I mean, it's been a big journey.
Yeah. But you know what? I knew you could do it. I did.
Thank you.
Yeah. I told you. It's true. It's you doing it too. It's you using those coping skills. It's you controlling your anger. It's you moving forward and making them good decisions. Not anybody else. That's all you. And it'll continue to be that way even when you're not meeting with us anymore. All right. Excellent. Thank you so much for checking in, Noah. All right. Tyler, what's up?
Hi.
Hi. 1 to 10 on the week. How's the emotion going? How's the check-in? Check in with me here.
Okay, so my week on a scale of 1 to 10, I would rate it a 6. Pretty much for the emotions, like the ones that I can identify as overwhelming and anxious.
Mhm.
I feel like I have a lot of decisions to make, and I have a hard time learning. I mean, we've been practicing with it, but where we're getting closer to the end of the sessions, my thoughts are like, should I go? Should I stay? Should I like stay with my mom? Should I
Mhm.
keep going with this guy? And I really do love him. Okay. But like, I don't know. I think it's just like up in the air. Like I still feel a lot of anxious feelings about what I should do. And I feel like
Yeah.
I'm a parent right now. I don't know what I'm going to do if I don't have this group and I don't have anyone. Um, I don't feel that comfortable with these CBS as I feel comfortable in this group.
Yeah. And I know you got a lot going on. Let me ask you, how are the cravings with all this stress and anxiety going on? I know it can make it really tough.
I have a lot of cravings. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like
Sure.
I do have a lot. I think it's just like, I don't know. I think it's just like because I feel really intense right now, and like my first thought is like when I have an intense feeling, like I just want to use, even though I know I
Yeah.
shouldn't.
Yeah. It's not logical, right? I get that. At the end of the day, the higher stress we have, the more self-care we got to do. So I guess my additional question for you, if you don't mind, is this week, what have you done for self-care? Because you're going through a lot of stress.
I haven't done anything. Uh, I've
What are we doing here?
showered. I've showered.
That's self-care. That counts.
I showered. That's pretty much it. I'm pretty much helping my little brothers and sisters. Like I don't know what to do. I should probably do more self-care.
Yeah. So maybe y'all can help me out, Caden and Noah. What do you think are some self-care things that y'all could suggest to Tyler real quick before we get into the thick of a group here? Anything that you all have been doing this week self-care wise that really helped you all?
I've been reading. I really enjoy reading, and it helps me relax. So I find something that you like to do and make time to do it.
Reading. What were you reading?
It's a sci-fi novel. Brandon
Okay.
Sanderson. So
There you go. Taking notes?
Yeah.
All right. Noah, what's some self-care you've been doing?
I have actually been taking advantage of the beautiful weather lately and have been trying to go out for nightly walks.
I would say that has a lot to do with the session we've talked about this week, right? Getting out there walking, that exercise, right? And we'll come back to that in just a second. We're talking about our emotions, how to regulate them. And I might be able to give you a few ideas of how to add in a little bit more self-care that makes sense with that anxiety and those few of those things to reduce that stress for you, Tyler. Thank you so much for checking in, right? I know things are still chaotic and it may feel like it's going to be that way for a while, but anything worth having isn't necessarily easy, right? It's about continuing to do them one step at a time. Try not to get too overwhelmed with all the chaos. Just focus on the one thing you control in any given moment, right? You can't control whether you have cravings or not. They just happen, right? But we control what we do about it. We control who we surround ourselves around. We control how much self-care we do, right? And we're going to talk about some of those things we can do as well. All right, so we'll go ahead and make sure we mute all mics back. You're doing a great job with that. I really appreciate that. You're all doing a great job engaging, supporting each other like you always have. It's part of what makes this group so successful. Keep it up. I appreciate y'all. So today's theme, we're going to talk about emotion regulation. So we talked last week about the stages of change. Both today and last week's sessions really been to prepare you all for this transition. I know it's a big one. I know it's really scary. Like I said, I expected some anxiety in here. You might even notice some of your original emotional instabilities and things you were dealing with might have came back and had a little bit of a flare up. That is natural right now. Just know you're not alone in that and that it is okay, right? So we are going to talk about emotion regulation today with the intent of helping you have better control of your emotions as you move forward and to deal with these emotions you're experiencing to make you as successful as possible as you transition out, right? Don't forget, just because you don't have me as a social support anymore, right? Because I'm an informational and emotional social support, doesn't mean you don't have that in your everyday life. It's part of what we've been developing all this time. So don't fail to, utilize those, right? It's so easy to kind of rule them out and to forget they're there. But every one of you in your life have at least one or two people that's there to support you. You got your friend groups, right? Caden's got that Instagram group going, right? Y'all got your social support so you can be heard, so you can communicate these things. Don't fail to use those, okay? So today what we're going to talk about is called the three perspective approach to emotion regulation. And if anybody's taking notes, just let me know if I end up going too fast. I'll be happy to slow down or repeat things. If there's any terms I talk about that you need to be broken down, just know that doesn't say anything about your knowledge on this, right? We're at a very end session, so I'm going kind of in depth with these type of things because I know y'all are really smart and can handle this type of stuff, all right? So bear with me here. So with the three perspective emotion approach to emotion regulation, we're going to acknowledge there's three main factors that contribute to our emotions. You have your environment, right? The area around you, right? You have biological, your own body, like what medicines are you taking, right? But also some other things in that. And then you have behaviors. These are going to be three main things that affect your emotions, right? So for instance, if we talk about environment, and if you need to join in and communicate, just you can unmute and join in whenever I ask a question at will. We don't have to do like the hand raising thing. We got this. So environment. What's an environment that makes you all anxious?
School.
Yeah,
All right, school?
Crowds of people.
Crowds?
I think it's one that's like I don't know what exactly is going on or where I can like escape through if I don't know the plan. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So the unknown in general. Okay. What about you, Noah?
School is what I
School as
said.
well. Okay, so school as well. Okay, kind of got one in there. That'll work. All right, so school is a very anxious area, right? Which makes sense. If we look at some other emotions, like anger, depression, things like that, I got a feeling you're going to see a lot of those same environments, right? Like school, maybe again, right? Maybe being on the crowded bus, elbow to elbow when the bus is full, right? Maybe in class at school, maybe being around certain people after school, maybe even being at home for some of us, right? That's okay. Biological. Let's dig into that one for a second. So part of what everyone did during inpatient, one of the services that was provided was medication adjustments, right? And one of the things that's been really helpful in helping you all transition is everyone's been compliant, as far as I know, with medications, which is great. We don't talk about them. We're just going to throw it out there. But that's not a cure-all. There's no one fix, one cure-all with any sort of medication. There's no magical cure drug that's going to fix all of our qualms and ailments, right? That's particularly true when it comes to addiction, but that's also true about emotion regulation in general. Right. So biological, yes, our medications can be part of that. It helps take the edge off. But when we're talking about biological, we're mainly talking about things like how are we eating? How are we sleeping? Right? How much exercise are we getting? Things like that. Right? Did you all know that as little as 30 minutes of exercise a day? I'm talking about light to moderate. I'm talking about walking to class, right? I'm talking about trying to go with your parents to the grocery store and walk around the grocery store and helping them carry some things. Easy stuff. You don't have to go for like no marathon jog. 30 minutes a day of light to moderate exercise can decrease depression by up to 33%. It can have a significant impact on anxiety as well, especially if you go out there in that sunshine, right? So those nighttime walks, that's fantastic. I was like, yeah, even better if it's a daytime walk, so you can get a lot of sunshine with it. But I get it. It's a little quieter in the evening sometimes. We're just going to make sure we're going in a safe place and we're in a safe environment, right? Because there's greater risk walking at night. So just make sure you have those extra precautions. Maybe wear neon things where you don't get hit by traffic. They can see it, stuff like that. But that's your call based on where you're at. You're all getting older and older. I do recommend during the day though, right? How about sleep? How's everyone sleeping? Anybody got a tip on how to sleep well?
I don't sleep good. I'm not sure how to sleep well either.
How many of y'all are at bed and you're sitting here like your pillow's your phone? You're like,
Well, yeah, I gotta talk to my boyfriend.
oh yeah. All right. Well, here's a few tips to help you all with sleep then. If we're struggling with it, okay? One of the things you can do is you take that cell phone, this thing. Yeah, I know I got an iPhone 7. I'm an old prehistoric dinosaur. You take your old phone, right? Magical disappearing phone. Now you see me, now you don't. And you do like on this, and you make it disappear. Look at that. Isn't that cool? So you take it, and by make it disappear, I mean you put it across the room from you. You put it face down so it doesn't light your room up. I don't know if y'all heard about those blue lights, but they're really stimulating. These phones are actually designed. If you like psychology, I know y'all like it. There's some really cool things in these phones if you think of psychology where they're meant to be addictive. Part of the marketing, though. All right. So take them, put them face down across the room from you, plug them in. Don't have them right next to your bed. Make it where you have to get up and go to them. Right? Try to cut that phone out, and I'll say try because I know better. Try to cut that phone out up to 30 minutes to an hour before you go to bed if you can. Do like Caden mentioned, read a book before bed. That'd be fantastic. If you don't like reading, do some meditation, listen to some calmer music, right? So a lot of those things you can do. If any of you all feel religious and spiritual, it's a good time to pray, reflect on your day. It's a good time to think about things you're grateful for that day, things that happened that were really good. But the key is to get away from the TV, to get away from the phone, get away from those stimulating things, put them down, right? Right. Another tip, if we got caffeine drinkers in here, try to cut the caffeine up to 12 hours before bed. I know that's a super long time, but caffeine can stay in your system for up to 12 hours, right? So if you're drinking those monsters and the energy drinks, Tyler, try to cut those out, right? Maybe after lunchtime. It might help you with, not feeling as jittery or
Well,
restless come
I
bedtime.
drink these energy drinks because I'm taking care of these kids as well. That's another reason why I can't sleep well. I know I'm making excuses, Mr. Thompson, but like also I love those energy drinks. But I do get what you're saying. I should probably cut that back.
What's interesting is, even when we're taking care of others, even when we're very busy, if you have good sleep hygiene, you get regular exercise, and you eat really good food, clean food, and we'll talk about that in just a second, you don't need those energy drinks to fill all the energy because you live in life in a way that's so balanced, you have the energy anyway, right? So it's a short-term game for long-time costs, kind of like other things, right? It might work in the immediate, but it adds to the problems in the future. It just makes it worse. So shortcuts are often not the solution, right? And that's true whether we're talking about anxiety, anger, or we're talking about addiction. We've got to be careful of them shortcuts because shortcuts come at a cost, right? I don't know if I'm willing to pay that in the future. All right. So caffeine, cutting it out. No vigorous exercise an hour before bed, right? Things like that. Okay. So just a few sleep hygiene tips. If you all would like, I can email everybody a copy of a sheet after this session that actually has that written down and it has a little bit few more tips in there. I just wanted to touch base on that. So biological is going to be things like that. Eating clean, right? Eating clean is going to be lean proteins. If you eat meat, if you're a vegetarian, you still need your proteins, but make sure they're lean. We don't eat a lot of like heavily, oily foods. We don't eat spicy foods before bed because we can have indigestion. We want to eat things like lean chicken, pork tenderloins, things like that. We want to eat leaner, right? Not as processed if possible. And I know that can be difficult because you're at the mercy of, your parents and those that are raising you right now when it comes to foods. But eating your vegetables, eating those lean proteins, eating a little bit of carbs. Carbs aren't necessarily bad for you. I know that's kind of a whole thing these days, the Atkins, and it's a trend. But a little bit of carbs is good for you, right? All these things in moderation. It's all about portion size. It's about eating cleaner and less processed. That can also help with your energy levels. I don't know about you all. I'm not following that advice. I don't know if y'all can see it. I got a Whopper here because I was running behind on a recession. So I had to go out and get me something quick. Do as I say, not as I do. And after this Whopper, you best believe I'm going to feel very sluggish. I'm going to feel awful. But I did what I had to do, right? And sometimes it's going to be like that. Sometimes you end up getting a little, milkshake. Makes your day a little better, sure, but it shouldn't be all the time. So there's nothing wrong with the occasional. When we're talking about eating clean, it's about more often than average, right? Cool. So does the biological make sense to you all? Yes? Okay. The next one's going to be behaviors. This is where we typically have a lot of awareness, right? There's this thing called emotional awareness. I'm sure you all can name at least one thing someone can say that makes you extremely angry, or one thing that makes you crave, right? Or one thing that makes you really anxious. Behaviors are those overt things, those things you see every day, the thing people will say, right? Like, for instance, can you all think of something you heard this week that made you angry?
My parents said that if you are gay, then you're going to hell.
Yeah. I can see how that'd make you angry. That'd make me angry too, right?
My
And
mom
Caden,
is gonna be just like her.
All right. And Caden, let me ask you something. Are you planning on going the same religion as your parents?
No.
No. So when they say something like that, I can see how that'd be very frustrating and probably make you want to be even more distant too, right?
Mhm.
But that anger's justified. It's okay, right? Sorry about that, Tyler. Come back at me. What'd you say again? It kind of got muffled.
I'm so sorry for cutting you off, by the way. It just popped in my head, and I was thinking of what my mom said. She said that I was going to be just like her, so why bother?
Okay. What's your mom's name?
Her name is Rhonda. Sorry.
Rhonda.
Yes.
I'm looking on the screen here. I think it says Tyler.
You said
Right?
my mom's name?
No, I know. I'm just saying.
Oh, my
It
bad.
doesn't say Rhonda on the screen.
My bad, Tyler.
No. You'll be exactly who you want to be. That's within your control. No one controls you except for yourself at the end of the day. You have people that can influence you both positively and negatively, right? Right? So maybe she can be a negative influence. Maybe there's some things she's done that you don't want to mirror or be like, and you have the power not to be that way. There might be some positive things she has too that you might want to, to learn from her and pick up. Sure. But at the end of the day, you choose who you want to be, Tyler, not your mom, right? Because your screen says Tyler, not Rhonda.
My bad.
Right? How about you, Noah? What's something that makes you angry? What's something happened this week?
Something that happened this week would be, I guess, I heard a couple of kids at school making some racist comments.
Yeah. Do you feel comfortable enough saying them just here, or?
No, I mean, it just some microaggressions. I mean, I overheard somebody after doing a presentation, overheard somebody talking about how I didn't sound black. And it just rubbed me the wrong way.
Absolutely. First of all, very proud of you. Microaggressions. Geez, someone's been doing their homework, right? Talk about becoming an expert of your situation. That's awesome, by the way. I didn't learn about I didn't worry about microaggressions way until college. So you ahead of the game on that. That's awesome, first of all, right? And I think it comes back to the whole thing with Tyler, right? We can't control them. We can only control ourselves. And you know what? Someone saying something like that, if it's someone that's worth it, we might be able to educate them, be like, hey, I just want you to know that came off as hurtful. That came off wrong, right? And there might be the opportunity to do that, especially if it's a friend or somebody. But if it's just some random stranger at school, it ain't worth your time, right? A wise man once told me, he said, when someone don't matter, don't let them rent space in your head for free, right? Because they don't matter. Don't let them rent space in your head for free. At the end of the day, if you let them rent space in your head for free when they say something like a microaggression or something racist or something off, what you're doing is you're giving them control over you. Because they don't have that, right? You're giving it to them. And if they're saying stuff like that, that lets me know that they're not worth giving them that sort of power over you, right? But at the end of the day, the anger all of you all felt in these situations, that's not the issue. That's a good thing. It's a healthy thing, right? I don't know if y'all ever heard this or not, but emotions are not good or bad. They're neutral. It's how we choose to express the emotions that's good or bad, right? So in this example, some of the emotions that's come out in this group so far has been mainly anger and anxiety is what we've talked about, right? I've done a fantastic job with that. But at the end of the day, the anger isn't the issue. The anxiety is not an issue, right? It's how we choose to express those things. So when it comes to the anger we're experiencing, it sounds like y'all did some really good jobs with it. It sounds like y'all walked away or you didn't jump into it. And if you're all hitting some growling and stuff in the background, my pups are playing. So got a couple dogs here having a good time. Badger, honey. All right. I'll be off the side petting one of my dogs. Don't let him scratch you. He's pretty, come here. Like, all right, come here. Oh, he's not quite getting in the screen. He's cute. Anyway. All right. So when it comes to the anger, right? Y'all have done some really good things there. Give yourself credit for it. It's so easy to go through and be like, oh my God, I got so angry. That's so bad, right? Everyone always just tell you, and what are you doing being angry? Just smile. What are you being sad? Smile, right? I'm sure you get a lot of that as young females, right? And Cade, even as a young sir, I'm sure you get a lot of that too, right? Just smile. You'd be prettier if you smiled, right? So at the end of the day, the fact that you walked away, right? That's a good thing. So when it comes to anger, a negative expression of anger could be like tearing stuff up, hitting somebody, yelling at somebody, right? Self-harming, isolating, right? Using drugs. It's a negative expression of something, right? A positive, healthy expression of the anger is setting your boundaries, communicating your needs, right? Saying, hey, mom, dad, this is how I am, and it really upsets me when you deny me, right? It makes me angry, right? When you're having a fight with brothers and sisters, something like that, and they, violate one of your boundaries, whether it's going in your room without permission, right? Or one of your, siblings taking an item of yours. It's okay to be angry about that. But do we talk about it? Do we go and exercise? Do we go for a walk? Do we read a book, right? Those are healthy things. The unhealthy is when we were tearing stuff up, right? That's when we were, letting it control us and making it shut down and making it where we couldn't be successful, right? Anxiety is a similar way. Anxiety, when it's unhealthy, right, it makes it really hard to get a good score in a test. You'll ever overthought a question, had to pick, one answer 3-4 times before you end up settling one, and your right first instinct was the right answer? Yeah. Rockhead nod there, right? But at the end of the day, if you weren't nervous about the test at all, you're not going to study, right? So if you have no anxiety, you're going to get just as bad a grade as if you have a really high level of anxiety. So the anxiety is not the issue. If you find that sweet spot, you do very, very well. It focuses you and it can keep you alive in certain situations, right? If I'm out walking around late at night like Noah does, right? That anxiety that I have, at least a healthy level of it, can be very important. So if I'm walking around and some, shady person's walking across the street from me, the anxiety brings it to my attention so I can protect myself, right? So it's not the emotion that's the issue. It's how we express it. And this is true about our sadness too, right? We haven't really talked about today, but depression's been a big topic for us in our groups. And that sadness isn't the issue. If you're feeling sad and you're feeling a little hopeless because we're ending this group and you're feeling like you're not going to have this connection anymore, that's okay. That sadness is natural, right? It's part of that stages of grieving change, a loss. And it's okay if you're feeling a loss at the end of this session. But think about all you've gained, all you've improved. And when you feel sad, find someone else in your spraying group. Talk to them about it. It's okay. There's healthy expressions of that. What I'm going to ask you to do is please do not self-isolate, right? If your urges get bad, right, Tyler, as they spike up, talk to someone about it. There's no shame in having urges. There's no shame in that at all. The idea is we talk to people about it, we move forward, we find those healthy expressions. And I'm going to promise you all something. You're not going to be perfect when these sessions end. You're going to make mistakes. No one's perfect. If you find someone that's perfect besides my wife, right, then put them in a cage, bring them to the session. We'll do a show and tell. I want y'all to bring it to me, right? Because that doesn't exist. You're going to make mistakes. And what's more important when you make mistakes in the future is how you choose to step up, how you choose to improve after. Okay? It's not about the mistake itself. It's about how we choose to express our decision afterwards. Right? So we're doing the end of treatment here. This is our last session. We've learned a lot today. Does anybody have any questions about the material we talked about before we close our session out and do our ending questions? No? Y'all taking some notes? I'm sure there's some good notes in there. And please don't forget Please don't forget to ask. You all can send me a message at the end if you'd like a few of these documents emailed to you. I do like to give you physical copies. I know there's a bit of a challenge. We're going over the computer here, but I'd be happy to send those to you at the end of the session. So I'm going to go around the room kind of like we did with the, yes, Tyler, you kind of cut in for a second there. Do you want to say something?
I was going to ask, I do have a question.
Yes.
So if I feel like my cravings are really intense, like on level 10, and I do want to use, like I do know now that I can use DCBS as a support system, and I do have healthy supports, but can I go back to outpatient? Is that like possible or no?
Yes. So it's one of those things where if you need continued help, what we're going to do is go through your caseworker, right? So you have that really good support in your caseworker. And that's one of the things you have as a major advantage in your situation. I know there's so many negative ways to look at it, but look at the positives, right? You have this support and you have so many systems around to support you when life didn't give you a lot of those to begin with, right? So don't hesitate to talk to your social worker about it, your caseworker. Mention to them your needs and they'll help you, kind of develop your most appropriate resource. It could be, future sessions like this and not reconnect you with me. But at the end of the day, it could be other things as well. It just depends on your need and depends on the situation. But continue to talk to your caseworker and continue to be open and honest with them as you move forward, right? But the main thing you do as you're having those cravings is don't forget to lean on those social supports. You can never have enough safety nets. You can never have enough people to talk to. You can never have enough support, right? Build up structure, stay in that routine, keep doing the healthy things we've been talking about. And I think you'll be a lot more successful than you think you will be. And if you do have a lapse, what's most important is how quickly you seek intervention. Okay. So seek intervention quickly. And by that, I mean, you talk to your caseworker. It could be, if you have a dog, you could be going to your dog and be like, hey, I'm so sad. I did this. Like, talk to me, doggy. Give your dog a big old hug. I don't want to go down this route, right? It could be that simple too. There's no easy answer for it. But all I can say is, even if you make a mistake and you do have a lapse, it's not the end of the road. Right? We're just back to that relapse stage of the stages of change. And we just got to go back and rethink about what led me here. Where's my stress at? What's got my cravings high? And we got to change a few things. Okay. Use your supports for that. Right? You got them. All right. So I'm going to start back with Caden because it's the top of my screen here. It might be different for you all. Caden, let me ask you. So how do you feel about the ending of your treatment? Are you anxious? Are you sad? Do you feel good and confident? How do you feel?
I feel anxious, but after hearing you talk, I feel better knowing that if I do feel like I need the extra support, then I can just reach out to my case manager and we can get something set up. So just knowing that in itself helps with my anxiety. I just need to do a better job at managing my anxiety.
Absolutely. Well, I can say one thing, Kate, you've come a long way, right? You've done a great job with your anxiety and the other things you've been dealing with. I think the main thing there is don't let other people get in your skin, right? As you move forward, even if your parents are having a hard time accepting you for who you are and all that challenge, that doesn't define who you are. The only person that gets to define who you are is you, right? So acknowledge the fact that you've come a long way. You've built up that self-confidence, right? That Caden I saw on day one, that Caden didn't think much of himself. You had a lot of negative self-talk. You had a lot of negativity in group. You weren't engaging or lifting anybody else up. Look at you now, right? You're positive. You got a lot of positivity. And I don't mean you have to be positive, but like you seem to have a lot better outlooks on things, right?
I think so.
Yeah, you have a lot healthier views, so acknowledge that. You've done a great job, right? And this is just the beginning. You'll continue to improve every day as you move forward with these sessions or not, right?
Okay, thank you.
Noah, hi. How are you feeling about the end of your treatment?
Anxious, but positive.
Okay.
I am trying to stay positive about my coping skills and knowing things that I didn't have before coming here that I do have now, and knowing that I am working on my relationship with my parents and my sister and just seeing the improvements that I've made It helps keep a positive mindset for the future.
Yeah, right. And like we mentioned earlier, you've done such a good job about not having those angry outbursts. I mean, I don't know if you remember or not, but you used to be 0 to 100 real quick, right? You used to be at the point where you were really struggling at all times to just kind of go off the handle. And in a lot of ways, it wasn't your fault. I mean, you've gone through a lot. But here you are, right? Calm, cool, collected. You dealt with a huge challenge this week of that microaggression. That's a hard one. I don't care who you are, even if you got issues with anger or not, even if you're a full blown adult. I don't care if you're a psychiatrist who's been doing this for years. That type of stuff set people off regardless. And yet here you are, someone that's had that challenge and you successfully went through it and didn't lose your control of your emotion. And instead, you end up going for a walk. You end up, walking away instead of letting them have control of you. You kept your control. Do you know how impressive that is?
Thank you.
Yeah. You can do it. You can keep it up. I'm not going to say you can have perfect anger all the time. There's going to be times where someone gets into your skin and you end up losing it, right? It happens. But just know that if that happens, your anger does not define who you are, right? At the end of the day, it's how you choose to move forward, how you choose to improve, okay? And you can do that. Don't stop growing, okay? All right. I guess it's everybody. I'm just kidding. Tyler, hi. How you feeling about the end of your treatment? I know you said you were kind of worried if you had high cravings. Could you re-seek help? In general, how do you feel?
In general, I feel more confident. I think that like from the beginning of the session, I said I was anxious, but like I realized that I have a support system, and like my decision like is to not go with my mom.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay.
and I understand that I can use my caseworker and do that. So I don't feel as anxious. I'm a little
Yeah.
bit anxious, but more confident.
Right. Which, I mean, you're at that age now where, I mean, it's only a short period of time before a full grown out of the house adult. So I feel like you're going to find that the family you have are going to be people you choose, some people you build around you, right? And I know you know that in your community. You've had to survive. Just be careful. Be careful who we choose to surround ourselves around, right? If you do need help, don't hesitate to reach out. I think one of the things that's a really important thing when we're talking about uh, the history of addiction and things that mixed in is engaging with some sort of, we call it in the profession, meso level commitments. But really, it just means a community, okay? If you're not religious, if you are religious, it could be like a church. You're not, either way. It could be an AA group or an NA group. Okay. Finding something like that to have a community around is going to be really important as you move forward. Right. Because, like I said, you can never have enough social supports. You're going to need those. Right. So I don't know if you've continued to look into AA meetings like we talked about. I know it's a bit difficult in your situation with the transportation and things like that. Um, but trying to find an AA group, trying to find a younger sponsor or somebody that can call you out on your BS, right? And sometimes you need that.
Oh, I agree. I think I've decided on the AA and
Okay,
going
cool.
as a support. But you are right. So I need someone to call me out on my BS.
Sure, don't we all? Don't we all? Right? One thing I'm going to say on that is just from an old veteran, when you go to an AA meeting, it's still just people. All right. So at the end of the day, the organization absolutely works for a lot of people. And I've worked with a lot of people with chemical dependency. So at the end of the day, if you go to your first session and it ends up being a bad session, okay, or you're around people that you don't mesh with or you just don't get along, right? It's not AA is the problem. It's the people. So try another group. Try a few of them. You'll find one that works for you. Okay. Same things about sponsor. I usually recommend trying to find, a same-sex sponsor, someone you can be open and honest with. Because I know you have those things with the boyfriend and whatnot. You need a girl to talk to about that type of stuff. I know that always makes you feel uncomfortable. So having a female sponsor, someone, hopefully closer in age to you, might really help with that. All right. If you find a sponsor and they don't work for you, you can always get another one. It's no different than, y'all picking your therapist. At the end of the day, you might not have meshed with all of them or got along with all of them. Just because one didn't work out doesn't mean the next won't. Okay. So as you go forward in your life, if you need additional help, all right, keep that in mind. At the end of the day, it's still just people. All right. So you all can do this. I believe in every one of y'all. And I want to say that I'm really, really proud of you all. Be proud of yourself. Don't discredit that, okay? Every one of you have come so far away. And I'd play a big old happy exit song, but apparently my phone disappears. So I can't play a song. Don't worry. Look. No. Got a couple smiles in there. All right. So on that note, we are going to finish our session for the day. I'll be around for just a couple more minutes if anybody needs to, talk just for a few minutes at the end to kind of tie things up. Otherwise, I really appreciate you all. You are free to exit the session. You have graduated Mr. Philly T's course of everything between emotion regulation, anxiety, anger, all that stuff we worked on. You all have done it. Congratulations. You've done it. Woo! Fireworks. You're all amazing. Don't forget that.
Yay.
And stop recording.